care about Arab children. You are a Jew hater, defined as someone who only wants to lie and say that the Jews are genocidaires. And don't try to cancel me and say that I should be on. You're not a producer of this show. Because you are ignorant of the facts and ignorant of the history does not mean that you can cancel my voice.
Cenk, your response.
During COVID lockdowns, Governor Cuomo treated the pandemic like it was his big break on America's next top authoritarian. He shut down bars, fined churches, and arrested small business owners, unless you were holding a protest, of course. That was magically deemed essential. Greg Gutfeld ripped into the hypocrisy. Grandma's bingo night was a public health crisis, but a crowd chanting Marxist slogans next to a flaming papermake puppet. Totally safe.
Many people are calling for a ceasefire. Queen Rania of Jordan, Angelina Jolie, Arab leaders, and so on. I presume you would agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they've murdered enough Palestinian civilians. And even Netanyahu, in an interview with ABC News, said, now that we're on the ground, we're finally pressuring Hamas on hostages. Oh, so the 7,000 bombs you dropped were totally useless and collective punishment in your attempt to murder civilians on purpose as some sort of sick vengeance. So please stop the murders, ceasefire right now.
Rabbi Shmuley, your response.
Cenk is polling in the Democratic presidential primaries at 0%, nothing. He has a greater likelihood of being elected the new king of France. And don't interrupt me, please. And the reason is that the American people are decent. They understand that Cenk's anti-Semitism, which he has voiced on your show repeatedly, calling Jews genocidaires, and this is the eve of Kristallnacht, the 85th anniversary of the start of the Holocaust. He would deny the Jewish people the only dignity left to us, that we were victims of genocide, and he would say that we are the Nazis, we are the Gestapo, for simply wanting to defend ourselves against the brutality and the savagery of Hamas. Cenk, you'll have your turn. Just show some decency. If you're not going to show it to my people, show it to me and show it to the viewers of the show.
Cenk Uygur argued that Israel's military actions in Gaza were so extreme they amounted to genocide, the deliberate killing of large groups. To make his case, he compared the situation to historical atrocities, even invoking the Holocaust. He accused Israel of losing all sense of morality and compassion, especially as so many innocent Palestinian civilians and children were dying. Uygur called for an immediate ceasefire, saying the attacks were a gross abuse of power that violated human rights. He believed the continued bombing was unjust and that Israel's government had crossed a moral line. But Rabbi Botich fired back, fast and fierce.
But who is surprised that a man whose name, the name of whose podcast is Young Turks, who perpetrated the Armenian genocide? The Young Turks is like calling your podcast the Young Nazis, the Young Gestapo. They killed 1.5 to 2 million Armenians between 1915 and 1918. The Armenian community has begged Cenk to change the name of his show. For the first half of his life, he was a complete Armenian genocide denier.
Are you going to discuss the issue?
Now he is a Holocaust denier because he is saying that the Jews are engaged in a genocide of the Palestinians. Now, which nation? How can there be 1.8 million Arab citizens?
Rabbi Shmuley, I'm going to go.
May I respond?
Yes.
Go ahead, more lines. Go ahead.
You know, I've spent my life debating people. Whenever someone starts using personal names and screaming like a lunatic, they're losing the debate. Let me remain
You're
factual.
the one who used to made up things.
The Palestinians were offered a state in 1936 in the Peel Commission, they rejected it. They were offered a state in 1947, the UN partition plan, they rejected it. They were offered a state in 1967 after Israel conquered Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, they rejected it. They were offered a state in 2000, Yasser Arafat, Ehud Barak, they rejected it. They were offered a state with Ehud Olmert, 2008, they rejected it. Israel unilaterally withdrew from Gaza in 2005, and they did not create a state. In fact, where were you, Cenk, when you say that you care about Palestinian children, when Hamas stole the highest rate of per capita international foreign aid, larger than the Marshall Plan, from Palestinian children, did not build schools for them, did not build hospitals, took all the money to buy bombs and to build a network of tunnels which is larger than the New York subway system. Where were you then? Why did you only come up now? In fact, when Bashar al-Assad killed 600,000 children, Arab children, when he gassed them with mustard gas, my organization took out full-page New York Times ads to protect them from sarin gas. Where were you then? You don't care about Arab children. You are a Jew hater, defined as someone who only wants to lie and say that the Jews are genocidaires. And don't try to cancel me and say that I shouldn't be on. You're not a producer of this show. Because you are ignorant of the facts and ignorant of the history does not mean that you can cancel my voice.
Cenk, your response.
Rabbi Botich slammed Uyghur's comments as offensive and historically ignorant. He accused him of spreading an old anti-Semitic smear known as a blood libel, the dangerous lie that Jews deliberately harm non-Jews. Botich said comparing Israel to the Nazis was a slap in the face to Holocaust survivors and trivialized the memory of its victims. He also reminded everyone that Israel had offered peace deals and two-state solutions multiple times, which Palestinian leaders had rejected. According to Botich, the real villain was Hamas, a terror group that uses civilians, including women and children, as human shields. He argued Israel was defending itself while Hamas was staging tragedy for the cameras.
Okay, so first of all, this guy is a full-blown bigot. He's one of the most racist people I have ever seen, does not value Palestinian lives at all. And everything he said about me is 100% untrue. I was vicious in my criticism of Bashar al-Assad. I have criticized Hamas over and over again, and I think what they did in the attack against Israel was reprehensible. But for God's sake, how long are you going to occupy these people? For me, the idea of Israelis and Palestinians or Muslims or Jews being different is absurd. Those are just stupid labels that we put on people. They're all human beings. I value the Israeli life just as much as I value the Palestinian life. We're all human. Stop using these nonsense labels
Cenk, let me ask you a
kill
question.
each other.
Cenk,
and all this guy wants to do is more murder of Palestinians.
Cenk, let me ask
when are you going to let them go? Hamas is a bunch of idiots. They should take that stuff out of their charter. All it does is hurt the Palestinian cause.
I agree.
There's no call for it. It's dumb and it's immoral. But Hamas claims that they would like to do these things, and from time to time they do these attacks that are horrible and they should never do. But Israel actually kills Palestinians, actually occupies Palestine, actually denies the Palestinians a state. So there's this absurd talk of like, oh, if Hamas was super powerful, they might deny Israel its existence. Except Israel does exist. And the Palestinian state does not exist because Israel is blocking their state. So stop using, and I'm not saying it's peer-to-peer, but this propaganda, hold on.
You know, Cenk, you and I.
Rabbi Botich didn't stop there. He also went after Uygur for naming his media company the Young Turks, the same name used by the regime responsible for the Armenian genocide. Over 1 million Armenians were slaughtered by the original Young Turks in the early 1900s. Botich said using that name was like launching a brand called the New Nazis and then claiming to stand for human rights. He called it pure hypocrisy. While Uygur was accusing Israel of genocide, Botich pointed out that his own brand glorified another one. He said this contradiction undermined Uygur's credibility and showed a lack of moral consistency. As the debate got uglier, the conversation shifted from the issues to personal attacks.
You and I are almost the same age, and I'm actually quite worried for how upset you get on TV. You gotta protect your health. You're just kind of losing it. Now calm down.
Because I'm upset that you keep advocating
when you
for the
keep
murder
on
of
saying,
civilians.
Cenk, you have
like
to
a
stop
terrorist.
yelling, you have to stop screaming, and you need to know the facts. The Palestinians were offered a state 7 times, and they rejected it 7 times. Bill Clinton told Yasser Arafat in 2000, you have made me a failure as president because Israel was giving you 97% of Judea and Samaria and the old city of Jerusalem, and Ehud Barak even offered the Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism, and the Palestinians rejected it. You simply don't know history. Read a book. In fact, read a Wikipedia article before you get on TV. Number 2, you know, you made a very good point before, Pierce, that Winston Churchill is the greatest British statesman and hero of the 20th century. Let's remember, when Churchill was faced with a genocidal threat of the Nazis, you know what he did, which Israel would never consider doing? He laid waste to 70% of Dresden, Essen, Cologne, Berlin. He eviscerated Germany and turned it into a parking lot, murdering about 6 million German civilians. Israel has never even considered doing 1,000th of that. And FDR acquiesced to it, and he's considered our greatest president of the 20th century. And then Harry Truman dropped 2 atomic bombs on Nagasaki, Hiroshima. So and Israel has nuclear weapons, has never considered doing that. Israel opened up.
Well, they've actually. Okay, let me come. Is there any limit, you as a rabbi, of the number of children who need to be killed to get rid of Hamas here, or is there no limit?
Of course there's a limit. We mourn the death of every Arab, Muslim, Palestinian child as if a Jewish child died. They are absolutely equal before God. That's why Israel withdrew completely and utterly in 2005, something that Cenk will not even acknowledge. There isn't one Israeli soldier, there wasn't until this new invasion, because of the attack on Sderot. I went to those places, Pierce. I was there 2 weeks ago. I saw the blood caked on the walls, congealed to 3 or 4 inches. I saw the knives that were used to murder entire families. We saw the place where Thai, not Jewish, Thai farm workers who were growing pumpkins were beheaded. We saw the body of Shani Luke, and I spoke to her mother, Ricarda, who was taken naked. These are religious men in Hamas, taken naked in her underwear and her bra, her dead body, these necrophilia savages. We saw all that. How many Palestinian children need to die? God forbid, not one. All Hamas needs to do is let the civilian population go south. Stop using them as human shields. Hamas wants these Palestinian children to die. Every Palestinian child to Hamas is a bulletproof vest.
Okay, but you said
for no other reason than to humiliate Israel.
Israel did not withdraw. They control the borders of Gaza 100%, and as you can tell now, they cut off the water and power anytime they want. The Jewish people have been oppressed throughout history. My heart goes out to the Jewish people for all the pain and the suffering that they have endured through all of these years. But now Israel, unfortunately, is not the oppressed. It is the oppressor. Look at them dropping 7,000 bombs on grandmothers and children. There's an American nurse that explained on CNN yesterday about how she sees little kids with burns all across their bodies. So Hamas is terrible. Yes, I can call for their surrender. That's easy. I don't like Hamas. I think Hamas is Muslim fundamentalist. But it's an impossible standard, and you know they're not going to meet that standard. And because you want to keep killing those civilians to show them how mighty you are, what a great oppressor you are. I'm sick of it. And it's not only ruining the Palestinians and causing their deaths, but it is causing the moral decay of Israel.
Blood libel. This is a blood libel against the Jewish people.
Stop hiding.
Say that we drink the blood of Christian children in our mouths. Cenk, you are guilty of a blood libel on the eve of Kristallnacht.
Things boiled over when Uygur accused Botich of being a bigot who ignored Palestinian suffering. He said Botich only cared about defending Israel, not the innocent lives being lost in Gaza. Botich fired back, calling Uygur an ignorant Jew hater and even accused him of edging close to Holocaust denial. He mocked Uygur's failed political career and his weak polling numbers in the Democratic primary, suggesting no one should take him seriously. Uygur shot back that Botich was dodging the real issue and using character attacks to distract from Palestinian deaths. What started as a political debate ended as a full-blown brawl. It was less about truth and more about scoring hits. Proof that this conflict doesn't just divide nations, it shatters conversations.